Hey, Megan, I'm so glad you're here to talk about your experience as part of the Streamline Your Life and Business Success 2020 class. And since you're a graduate, I thought we might talk a little bit today about your journey from the beginning of the year in early January to now. It's the end of the month here in March, and you've had a journey. So
Yeah.
so thank you. So let's talk about when you first started, like when you were considering like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Like what had you say, yeah, I'm going to give this a shot? Like what was happening in your life?
I knew that stuff wasn't working, but I didn't know what the hell wasn't working. And it was just like, why not? Why, you and I connected and was like, yeah, this could be fun. At least I know I'll be challenged. And what's the worst thing that can happen? I grow.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. So what I heard was that it would be fun, and I like to think I'm fun. So
Yeah.
thank you. I had lots of fun with you.
Thanks.
When you say things in your life weren't working, would you mind being a little bit more specific?
Yeah. It was just kind of a frustrating, like, why life should be easier. Like why do I feel like that constant, we all say I'm on a hamster wheel, but you see other people that don't feel like they're on the hamster wheel, like that life is easier. And I was just, kind of frustrated, burned out. Something's got to change.
Yeah.
So,
and how was that showing up in your body or your life? Like what were the outside cues that you knew something was wrong for you?
It was definitely in my body. Around me, everything was working well, but my body.
Ooh.
And it was, stuff was just really starting to show up, and, kind of that big belief of, what you put out to the universe will come back. And I wasn't taking care of me. So it was interesting. It was like, okay, this class is about business.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was the right thing to do, even though it was my body that was manifesting probably all the negative things were hitting in my low back or in my legs, or I was exhausted, and it's like, but this feels right to do.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's really important to know, right? Because how often do we, as, especially mothers, business women, caretakers, wives, husbands, whatever it is, that we go to work every day and we slog it out, and we might have that pain that we basically are really good at ignoring, right?
Yeah.
And what good for you that you noticed you did have that pain, and you thought you wanted to up-level business. And maybe you did. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Mostly for you though, it was like, hey, my body isn't cooperating with me. Something's got to change. So that was that. So talking about results, like what were your top like 3 takeaways, like 3 things that you're like, shoot, I am so glad I have this, because this is like a thing for me now. Like what habits, what results do you have?
What I noticed right away was that I had my shit pretty together. Oops, sorry. I had my stuff pretty together. From like a day-to-day, I could get everything done. I could manage distractions. It's kind of like, oh, good. Because that's where I kind of thought I was screwing up. What I quickly realized that it was the foundational side of taking care of me that was missing. And not at all what I expected that we would be diving into. It was great because it was very clear as we kind of, you laid out kind of foundationally working from, almost the ground all the way up to the top of your house or the different layers of your cake. It was just very, oh, geez, okay, I'm the problem. I'm the foundation, and my foundation is not even close to being solid. And it was, so my takeaway is, oh, I've got it together from a business organization. Like I can manage distractions, those kinds of things. I am now focused more on take that deep breath at the beginning of the day, and how am I going to take care of me today? How am I going to serve myself best so that I can show up better in my business, in my family? And it was just, little things from take that breath to things that I could be grateful for. Start my morning. I mean, it's all things that we know, we hear, but it isn't until you like really sit down and look at that from a foundational standpoint,
right,
that if you don't do it,
right,
what all it affects.
right.
And
So you have foundational habits now. So
I
I'm
do.
hearing like you have maybe your top 3 foundational habits. You're taking a breath.
Yeah.
You're, did I hear you say you're having gratitude?
Yeah.
Yep.
And verbalizing that gratitude, like making a point of, and visualizing it and verbalizing it, like, wow, I really am blessed and lucky, because I never thought, I didn't do that before. I taught it.
Yeah.
I would
That's
to my
funny how we teach
staff,
things
to my staff, to my family, to my friends, colleagues. It's very apparent. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
And I definitely, and even more so, realize how much I live that philosophy.
Right.
So I think it was even, it was almost that back to basics,
Right.
and, going back to thinking of it as a house and foundation. If we know that houses were built better in the, early 1900s, 1950s, and then you look at how brand new houses are built, they completely changed how they did it, and they're not surviving.
Well, I like how you relate it to a home, because of course you're a realtor.
I am.
So, right? So you can relate to that, the house built on the rock versus the sand. And it's funny how we might go looking for a home thinking like we want, this certain window treatment and the way a room is. But the truth is that the foundation's crumbling. I don't care what it looks like on the outside. And for you might have, at the beginning thought one thing, but in the end you had those foundational habits, right?
Absolutely. And realizing that I have to constantly, daily, start my day looking at that foundation and not skipping that. Down to something as basic as, am I drinking water? How much coffee have I had today versus how much water have I had? Or
what has that meant for your life and your productivity and your success?
I think the big thing, especially starting the morning with, taking that deep breath and doing gratitudes, it definitely has shifted how my attitude in the day, and flipping. Like if something was really bad, I would have stayed in the negative instead. Okay, let's shift. And what is it that I can be grateful for? And it sounds so cliche, and you can't shift that. But if you've started your day on a positive, and so it just helps you to handle the crap that's thrown at you, and just constantly coming back to that foundation of just peace, and finding joy in whatever.
Beautiful. So you're walking away with foundational habits that have changed your life. So there's 3 main parts of life that people care most about: health, wealth, and relationships.
Absolutely.
So just as we close this down, one of my last questions are, how has this affected your health?
I've realized it has to be a priority. So even, something as basic as, drink water, eat breakfast, to don't ignore those things where it's manifesting in your body. What's the problem?
So do I understand that your health has increased and therefore your energy has increased and your outlook has increased? I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, so tell me if I'm about right.
Yeah, well, I think yes, because I've given myself permission to look at me and go, I need to be a priority. I am worth it.
Right.
And I can't enjoy the wealth. I can't enjoy my family and my relationships if I'm not healthy and I don't have a better outlook on life. And if the whole point is to leave, Yeah,
you. That's a big reverse from how you lived your life before. I know that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. How about wealth? How do you feel about your money now versus how your money and your kind of wealth, maybe just an overall kind of wealth versus at the beginning?
Well, what I think it was the first or second project that you had kind of pushed me on was look at your finances. What, it was in this mode of, okay, money, pay bills, do this, do this, do this, without really looking at the reality of it. It was, again, go back to the hamster wheel, sitting on that hamster wheel going, oh, it's
Yeah.
fine, go to work, pay your bills, do whatever. But it was
Yeah.
like, really, is that the life I want long term? What does it look like? Take that step back, put it in writing, have the discussion with my husband, and how do we come at this better than we're doing it now? And it was super positive. I mean, I don't think there's any quick answer or quick, and we all know this, right? But it was something, what will work for you within the lives that you have to make you feel better about money and wealth, and how do you get there?
Yeah.
And there's definitely, we needed to have that conversation. We'd never really had it,
Yeah.
from that perspective. And just, what are our priorities? What do we want to do? And we can sit there and say, well, we want to travel the world, or when we retire, this, but if we're not actively working that way and on the same page, we'll never get there.
And thank you. So that makes sense. I'm seeing a theme, but before I mention the theme, before I name the theme, when you think about your relationships with your husband, with your kid, with your coworkers, tell me a little bit about how it was before and how it is now with regard to relationships.
It was definitely much more on edge, and just frustrated, and just, I keep going back to that hamster wheel, just that constant chaos and feeling like you're running and running and running and not accomplishing anything. So I think I have a lot more fun. I'm a lot more relaxed. Yeah. My son's definitely picking up on some of my cues. Yeah. And using this, like, okay, well, what are you grateful for? Let's talk about this. What about money? Like, just kind of taking some of the pieces and not just using it for my growth, but using it for growth for those around me, whether it's.
I love that. So it's the ripple effect. As
Absolutely.
we take care of ourselves, and as
Yeah.
we learn these things, and as we practice these things, so too does our family. And
Absolutely.
my guess is it's a little bit maybe even trickled into work, although it is only a 3-month program, so it's not a full year-long thing. Great.
Yeah.
So in closing, what I'm hearing is a lot of head in the sand with regard to money, with regard to health. Maybe not a head in the sand with regard to relationships, but a little bit, because when you talk about on edge, maybe more at work for you in that case.
Yep.
And when we lift our heads out of the sand and face the things we are so scared about, goodness can come. So with that, anybody listening, if they've made it this long through the video and they're listening, they're going like, God, I don't know if I want to do something like that. Like, what words would you have to say for somebody to consider, this is for me if these things are true, and this is not for me if these things are true?
If you feel like you're on that hamster wheel, if you just know stuff just isn't right, but you don't know what it is. And I think the most important question to ask is, if you don't do it, if you're not truly ready to make a step, then that means you're saying that my life on this hamster wheel, or whatever it looks like, is fine. No change needs to be made. And if you're willing to live your life completely the same way that you've been doing it every single day, great, don't sign up. But if you know that a change needs to be made, and interestingly, you come in and you think, oh, I'm going to talk about my business, or I'm going to work on organizational things, it always comes back to, what is it that you need personally in your foundation to make all those other successes stronger?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I will say that other people in the course did work more on those other pieces of the cake, or the house, as the case may be, because,
Yep.
you know, just really quickly, I don't know if everybody can see this, but these are all the pieces that we work on in the course. Megan just happened to really focus on her foundation. So thank
Yep.
you so much, Megan. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate you being here with us. And have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.